Thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much to the Salazar Center for the amazing funding of this last year. It's so fun to be back and to hear and see all of these amazing presentations from everyone, and just puts us back at when we were so nervous to be here about this time last year. And it's so inspiring to see all the different projects that people are working on. We're going to give an update of our project that won the Connectivity Challenge of Fall 2020. My name is Francesca Clavery. I'm the Native Plant Program Manager for Borderlands Restoration Network, and I'm joined by Leia Ibarra and Valeria Cañedo of the Colectivo Sonora Silvestre. I'm based out of Patagonia, and they're in Hermosillo right now. And what we want to do is just give a quick intro to what the challenge we were working on was, and then how things have been going for this last year. And we'll be able to wrap it up and are happy to answer any questions. So the title of our program was Bacanora for Bats by National Conservation and Sustainable Agave Spirits. Our project conserves agaves in the US-Mexico borderlands and implements a sustainability certification for Bacanora, a regional mezcal distillate based on enhancing agave connectivity for nectar-feeding bats. And the way that our team is set up is both the Colectivo Sonora Silvestre and Borderlands Restoration Network are these ecological conservation groups. We're based in the United States, the Colectivo is based in Sonora, and we both do really on-the-ground native plant and habitat restoration work. We've been working on our Agave for Bats programming since around 2017 as partners. And we were really lucky and fortunate to be able to rope in Dr. Erin Riordan, who was able to help us with our mapping work, where she's a lot better at that work than we are. And to be able to talk briefly about the main issue before I pass it off to Leia and Valeria to talk about Bacanora specifically and their portion of the project. This is an issue where we have this migrating nectar-feeding bat, the lesser long-nosed bat, Leptonicterus yerbabuene. And this little bat starts in southern Oaxaca, and the females fly north. There's two different populations. The species that comes into the southwest US and northwestern Mexico is the yerbabuene species. And they're heading up the coast all the way along the Sonoran coast, mostly hitting flowering cactus and other trees. And they're heading for the big saguaro blooms. And then once they come up, they hit their maternity roost, they have their little bat pups, and then they turn around, and when they're heading south, they really start to depend on the flowering agave plants. And they're really depending on these flowering plants that only flower once in their life. And this has become a problem because both in the United States and Mexico, land use has changed, and a lot of these agaves aren't allowed to flower, both because of just development, but then in Sonora, and because of the popularization of mezcal and agave distillates, specifically for the product Bacanora. And so our goal with the project was to implement policy where we were going to have the sustainability certification working with the denomination of origin, which is a state-run project through the state of Sonora. And we were also going to get baseline data on how many agaves there actually are. And so here in this map, you can kind of see the different areas of where Bacanora is produced, and you can see the route that the bat takes coming up the west and then coming down more from the eastern part of the state. Leia and Valeria, would you guys like to take it away?
Sure. Thank you, Francesca.
Okay, so Bacanora, it's a mezcal, is a type of mezcal. It's an agave distillate. And it's also part of Mexican heritage, specifically Sonoran heritage. So it is part of our culture. It has been made since forever, but it was prohibited for a long period of time, which was like 77 years by a law from the president at the time. And this, what happened with this is that the Bacanora producers started to use the wild agave plants to make their Bacanora, and they will hide on caves or do it at night to make their Bacanora, because the Mexican rural police, which is called the Cordada, will harassment harass them and will pursue them. They will also kill them just for making Bacanora. So this beverage has a lot of history behind it. And I really love this slide. This is from one of Vidal Salazar's papers. He studies Bacanora's history. It says, behind every drink of Bacanora are woven stories of courage and sacrifice, of an intense struggle to survive in a region lacking alternative employment and development. So that's a little bit about the Bacanora and the importance for us. This right here shows a diagram of how we designed the project to make the industry, or to guide the industry towards a sustainable development. And so, as we all know, we cannot just put attention in the environmental part, but we also have to take the social aspect and the economic aspect, and the, of course, political and institutional aspect to make it happen. So right here in the boxes, you can see how we address every one of those aspects. First of all, the environmental one, by conserving the lesser long-nosed back migratory route, and also the agave nectar corridor that has been fragmented because of the use of agaves to make different beverages. And also the research to back up all this information and to make sure that we're taking the correct decisions. And then in the economic aspect, we have Bacanora promotion as an important source of economic income for the state. Since, as you saw on the map before, Bacanora is made in the most part of the state of Sonora. And also the reactivation and promotion of the local economy, especially after COVID-19, where we saw that the economics of all the countries were severely damaged. We think that this could be a really good alternative to promote and to increase that economic income. And then we have this in the social aspect, the support of rural livelihoods and the promotion of cultural heritage that Bacanora is already. And then in the political and institutional aspect, we have collaborations with government agencies. In this case, the most important one would be the Sonoran Regulatory Council of Bacanora. And we also have collaborations with other organizations and institutions that you're going to see later on in the slides. And all these points is how we thought that we could address this problem, and taking the lesser long-nosed bat in the agave nectar corridor as flag species to protect all of these other different aspects that interact within the Bacanora industry. So we came up with this program, which is called Fuvares. It's the Bacanora Fund for Sustainable Development, in where we address all of these points that you saw before through ecological guidelines and well management of the lands and of the natural resources, in order to achieve a sustainable development in an industry that is still very young and very, very active in the state. Okay, so we started, of course, signing a collaboration agreement with the Bacanora Regulatory Council, which is a government agency that has the highest authority over Bacanora production. And we signed this in order for us and for them to achieve this sustainable development, because they are also very interested on this topic. And in the next slide, right here, you can see we're celebrating this collaboration. And we had the Secretary of Economy of the state of Sonora in that time as a witness of this agreement to make it official with the other government agencies as well.
So for the first year, we started with 3 Bacanora brands. 2 of them are based in Álamo, Sonora, which has one of the biggest maternity caves we have in Sonora for the lesser long-nosed bat, which are Bacanora Quilinga and Bacanora Real de Álamos. We also have Bacanora Siete Coronados, which we have been working with him since we started working with conservation back in 2017. And these are the brands we selected to start the pilot part, like the pilot project, because we need to prove this is something that can work. Thank you. So we couldn't have done any of this within all the help and networking we did with all these amazing organizations we have worked with. We have both sides of the border organizations. We have local government agencies, state government agencies, also NGOs from here, Mexico, and from also the US. Universities, and also we have this part like agrological part, which is Agrimilla. They were helping us with this part of the agaves also. This is part of like we created this like network organizations to create, how can we say, like a bigger impact of it. Yeah, you can continue. So for example, this one of the first field trips we have, this is the field work we did in Siete Coronados ranch, which is in Matape, Sonora. This is how we installed the wildlife camera. Also, we set some weevil traps, which is one of the biggest pests for agaves in all Mexico. We also designed conservation gardens for them. And this is part of like,
this is part of like the compromise of the producers, the Bacanora producers, with the environment and with the program Fuvares. And after a year of them working and accomplishing all these guidelines, they would be
they will be able to receive a distinctive on the bottle, which is going to increase their value in the market internationally and nationally. Part of the outreach was also doing these events. Like, for example, we did this forum back in May, and we talk about conservation, resilience, and tradition of Bacanora. So we have all these experts talking about like creating a dialogue between, as I said before, the network we talked before. So we had researchers, we have government agencies, we have everyone in just one place to be able to discuss about what we can do to improve Bacanora industry in the sustainability path. We also have outreach events like Sin Murciélago no hay Bacanora, which means without bats, there's no Bacanora, to explain to people how important it is the correlation they have and the pollination part and the genetic diversity they create based on the pollination.
So this was part of the goals that we had in the project, to outreach not just to the Bacanora producers, but to the general public and to the experts that are already working in this type of fields with bats or with Bacanora or with anything that has to be done with the Bacanora industry. And then we created the Fuvares Agroecological Guideline Handbook. This is a handbook that we gave to the Bacanora producers that are working with us. And in this manual, you can find all the guidelines, all the ecological guidelines to fulfill the agreement that they signed with us, and to get finally the distinctive of an environmental friendly Bacanora. And this is like for them to have, if they have like any questions, or if they want to learn a little bit more about why they're doing this or what they're doing, they can just go to the manual. They also have our contacts there. So if they have any questions, they can call us, they can reach us through mail. So this is like the main material that we give to the producers that works with us.
One of the other components of our project was to develop the baseline agave population counts. And this is done, we're going to be doing this in two separate sections, kind of. So the first thing that Aaron Riordan did is did suitability maps for where all the herbarium records are of the agave palmeri populations, where their suitability is within the region. And then what we've been doing this year, and we'll finish up next year, is we have dozens and dozens of volunteers who have signed up to go look at some of these sites and to do actual health counts and number counts of how these populations are doing. Because this was something we had run into when we had first started working with agaves, specifically for bats, was kind of realizing that there was no baseline except these really old herbarium records. And as climate changes and as the use of these plants changes, it's so important for future work to be able to see what we've counted in certain areas and just have it as a baseline from like 2021. Oh, you guys are muted.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this slide explains a little bit what's next for the program for the following year. First of all, the policy change, which is like the main goal of this program. We are already talking to the Bacanora Regulatory Council to add to the policy the Norma Oficial Mexicana, the environmental guidelines for the production and sale of Bacanora. So that's already on the table. We hope to do it next year. And also our research, so adopting this research program as a support, like I said before, for decision making, just to make sure that we're taking the correct decisions and that we are actually having a base for what we do and for the guidelines. Continue with the outreach, continue to promote the sustainability of the industry, continue to promote the importance of the environmental resources. And of course, when I say environmental resources, I also mean the bat and the agave nectar corridor. And the sustainability, which is like the main goal. So it's just implement these guidelines and these norms in a way that they actually function correctly, and they are, they're backed up by an actual policy that assures that this sustainability is going to happen. So this is what we're going to see for the next year with this program. We already finished the first year with the 3 producers, and then we are adopting another 4 producers for the next year. And well, we want to thank very much to the Salazar Center's Connectivity Challenge 2020 for making this project possible. We cannot have done it without you guys. So thank you very, very much. We really are looking forward to continue this amazing project. This is just the beginning. And we really hope to achieve the goal and to really get to that sustainability path that we want to guide. Something so special and so just so special for the Sonoran state that Bacanora is. And thank you very much, and we're happy to answer any questions.
I'm crying again.
Thank you guys so much. My heart is as full and warm, I think, from that update as it was last year. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to handle it with 5 teams getting awards this afternoon. I might just explode. We've got a great question from Ashley in Baltimore. Is there a way any of us can support this effort by encouraging liquor stores to carry certified Bacanora? Can we do that now? Can we do that soon?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really important for all agave spirits. And not just for Bacanora. Bacanora is its own regional distillate here that we're working on this certification, but there's also bat-friendly mezcal and bat-friendly tequila that you can find all over the world. And it's so important to ask your local bars, at events, when you're at a liquor store looking for a really nice bottle of mezcal, to ask whether or not it's certified. As a consumer, that kind of work is so important. And there's whole conferences just dedicated to empowering consumers to ask questions. But that especially is so helpful for the entire industry.
Totally. It's like right now, as Leah said, Bacanora industry is still really young. So we hope we can find more Bacanora internationally soon, and with the Bacanora label we are working on.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you guys again.